Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Randy Burke,
Here.
Commissioner Darren Indovina,
Here.
Commissioner King Gaspar.
All right, well, all please rise and for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to Skip.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I think just a couple of announcements. Erin has decided to stay with us. I appreciate that. She's doing some great things with the, and only 4 months, she's done some great things, employee handbook, and she's still excited about. So I appreciate you staying, Erin. The second thing is for the working meetings, the council talked last week. Instead of doing them at the high school, we'll still do the regular meetings at the high school, just like it's in the ordinance. But on the working meetings, we will go to different facilities within the city. Tomorrow's is going to be at the North Park facility, the new maintenance facility up there. And we will rotate that to different parts in the city for the working sessions only, regular sessions that we normally do at the high school. Okay, I need to utter that.
That's tomorrow at North Park.
Well, that session will be at North Park, and where there are other places we can go, the water treatment plant, public works, I think is some of the things we discussed. But we'll go to those different parts of the city. Now, are we going to have any problems recording those?
I'm going to get with various department heads, kind of get a list together of facilities that they think would be appropriate for the meetings, have the infrastructure we need to seat a bunch of people, and have the internet to do all that.
Is this the infrastructure we need right here?
Well, tables, chairs, internet. Internet's a big one.
Okay. All right. So when possible, we'll rotate.
So tomorrow, 6 p.m., North Park, maintenance building.
Yes.
Gotcha. Clarification, that's all. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Let's go to regular business. Discussion of replacing the city clerk and city administrator. Chris?
All right. So as you're all aware, both myself and Angie are going to be leaving here for much longer, and so wanting to try and get a game plan put in place. Commissioner Gaspar sent out an email. Believe you all sent that to as well, and we're just requesting a meeting to go over a lot of things, try to game plan what the future may look like with both myself and Miss Irwin leaving. So I think the game plan, the conversation today really just needs to be, hey, how do we proceed here? I did send out an RFQ last week, and you all believe I had a chance to review that. I know Mayor Burke, you'd indicated you were comfortable with it. Mr. Gaspar had a couple changes, minor things, I believe, and Mr. Indovina, I don't think I've seen from you yet what your thoughts were on that. But the computer to connect. But as far as for my replacement, that would be my suggestion. Still, would be that we do move forward with hiring a search firm, and so would be interested to see what your thought process on how to proceed accordingly. I would recommend that we put out the RFQ and then try and potentially find have them help us find an interim administrator for the time being. That could possibly be a 2 to 3 month, 4 month stint, however long you need in the search process to select somebody. And I think that should help department heads. We've got a good group of department heads that I think realistically can keep things moving forward. If there's a brief transition period without somebody in the administrator seat, but I do feel like it's certainly advantageous to not wait 6 to 8 months to get somebody in this chair. So I think that would be a good move on your part if you were to decide to try and get somebody in the interim.
So I had hoped that we would have been able to have an approval of the RFQ by last week so that we could get it off to companies.
All right, I think
I don't mean, you wanted some minor changes to it, because what I did is I looked at the last one we did for Chris.
Yeah,
And
I
it's-
added a couple of paragraphs and just made some revisions to some of the existing text.
Okay, yeah, I'll take.
I mean, we can go over that. If we can get that approved here today, I'll be very
I
happy with
agree.
that.
We do need to get that approved today.
so. I think that we can go over that, and I don't know if you have that with you or electronically, or I can go print it out real quick if you want to look at anything else. I'm struggling getting into my email for some reason. It's not accepting my password,
Okay.
so that's odd. As far as Mrs. Irwin and her replacement, I think that you have some options. I think that we do have an internal candidate that with Mrs. McMillan that she'd be able to fill in the interim for sure, and I think she has an interest in filling that role permanently. So it'd be a conversation for you guys to have and determine, hey, what approach we want to take there. I think the real conversation just needs to end up being, hey, what are our approaches on both of these searches? I know we talked about internal candidates on the administrator as well. I think the approach is at this point, hey, let's go ahead and issue the RFQ. And so what approach are we going to take with the city clerk position? And so, but certainly that's something that could discuss that in closed session as well. If you feel like, hey, there is you would want to consider Ms. McMillan for that role. So.
All right. Well, I don't know what the expectation for today is, but like I've told a few here casually, I'm fully expecting to be here all day to talk about every detail that we need to talk about, not only in the search for the replacement of the city administrator, but the duties that are carried out by the city administrator, who's going to do them, what needs to be done, what time intervals. Same for the city clerk. These are two of the leaders of the administrative staff, and those vacancies are going to be very difficult for us to just fill in with existing staff.
Yeah, I think we're doing that. Chris, we're going to do insurance stuff today. We're going to talk about that. I don't want you to have to tell me that, but we're already starting the turnover. Chris has already started that with the insurance, and then with the closed session.
Yeah, I'd like to go over that though.
Okay.
To go over what, the insurance stuff?
I'd like to go over every detail of what we need to know about.
So, and we could certainly, here a few months ago, I prepared a kind of projects list, so we can go over that as well. And there are some things that have updates to those. There are some that there's not really much else to report on that topic at this point, but certainly we could go over those things just to bring you all up to speed on where we stand on various projects. And
Is your last day in the office, remind us?
well, so
next week.
Well, I'm hoping to. I'm not sure yet. I know I was the 17th, I believe, is when school starts over in Kansas, and so I was hoping to be here a little bit longer, but to get moved and everything. So was looking at possibly being here potentially for the August 8th meeting, but that probably be my last week if I am here for that. But then potentially also just next week being potentially the last week as well. So I am trying to work through what, I guess, how I'm going to balance everything, trying to get the move accomplished and whatnot. So certainly I'll keep you all up to date on what my game plan is there. So
And I have also prepared a list of things that I am doing, so,
Excellent.
and time frame.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, if there's no objection, I'd like to start with the RFQ.
Agreed.
See where we are and let's try to get that.
Will the
Yeah.
RFQ only be for Mr. Weiner? Will it also?
Yes.
Okay.
That's,
So we're
that's
not
the
gonna
only
use,
thing we're going to be utilizing the search firm for.
we don't want to add other employees to it from Ms. Angie's position or even Brian Bauer's position, golf course. I mean, those are all big departments.
So it would be a separate process for each position if you wanted to go through that. I have reached out to, I know we've had this conversation about the golf course. I have reached out to a consulting firm, a headhunting firm, essentially that the city used the last time we hired Mr. Bauer, 5-ish years ago, I believe. So reached out to them. I'm hoping to hear back today. But if not, then we may need to go a little bit different direction, try and find somebody else, or just advertise ourselves. I have had better success from the golf course perspective, in my experience, with hiring a kind of a headhunting firm for that role, trying to find people that are doing that job elsewhere that may be interested in moving. I know that's how I found I was successful in finding a golf course manager the last time I had a golf course that needed that filled when I was in Girard. Got somebody out of Maryland who ended up being terrific. So I do know we have Mr. Easley in house as well, who would be interested in the position, and so certainly have had a conversation with him about the possibility of him taking that role permanently, but as well, having him fill in the interim. I think is certainly we're in a better position than if we did not have Daryl. So certainly appreciate his willingness to step up and help us out. So.
Okay. But only question I had, will the RFQ consist of anything other than Chris?
No.
Yeah, this particular RFQ should not.
It's a different applicant pool.
So, RFQ.
So,
Do you
Darren,
need me to send this to a printer at all?
can you email it to my .gov?
Yeah.
Because for some reason I can't get it to pull up on my email. Let's see here. I just texted Mr. Kelly and asked him, hey, can you figure out what's going on with the email? So.
Wish we had a monitor.
All right, thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point. Do we have a monitor that we can?
We have a projector.
Well, what I'm thinking is when we go to all these other places in the city, there's no such thing as a portable monitor we can take around.
Oh, there is, but we
There
don't
is.
have it.
Okay. All right.
So
Projector would be the better solution for that.
Okay.
So originally, I did have the contact point being Angie, but with her departure as well, I'll update this to with Aaron staying to be Aaron's email address, and I will probably what's okay. Yeah, and Ken copied you on this email, so that way you all can see his recommended changes.
Have you had a chance to review them?
Yes.
Okay.
So
Anything
I think
questionable?
On the no, I don't think so. I think we can you had a question on JHA's travel operations and how to reword that. So that I thought we would just take that if you guys wanted to just take out the other corporations. I think we could potentially do that and just say that JHA travel operations are. And
Yeah. You don't have.
I don't have a copy.
Is that in this red right here?
So
okay, you don't have your tablet either.
No.
it's the sentence that starts JHA's travel operations. It's in the second paragraph in general information.
I'll print it real quick so that way you
Go up.
we can get you a copy to look at, Randy.
Sorry, I mean.
All right. Thank you.
Hold on, right there. Right there. So you see the
I'll print an
comment.
extra copy for you too, Murray.
So my question was, if you want to just go back to the. My question was that sentence where it says JHA's travel operations and the location of several other large corporations' facilities in Monett are contributing factors in making Monett's airport one of the busiest general. ... So I thought that was just a little confusing sounding, and just wanted to have a little clarification.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, we're getting a copy.
I don't have a problem with that.
Have you sent it yet?
Yeah, I just
Jay-
printed it.
You know the problem with the wording?
All right, thanks.
JHA's travel operations and the location of several other large corporations' facilities in Monett. What does that phrase mean? And the location of several other large corporations' facilities in Monett.
So essentially, it was just saying that it's JHA as well as EFCO and Mark Recycling.
We're still talking about an RFQ here.
Yes.
Yeah, so basically, the RFQ is built to where they have given a synopsis of demographic background of the city of Monett. That hey, this is who we are. This is what a lot of our larger industries are, etc. To give the firms some background on the community. So they have an idea. Is this a community that they want to represent?
What was the? Which
Cool.
thing? It was
Cool.
overreach or something. What was the purpose that you brought it up? You think it's
Grammatically, it sounds very confusing to me. Doesn't make sense.
Okay.
Doesn't make sense to me. And the location of several other large corporations' facilities.
And facilities, maybe.
So I think we just say Jack Henry and Associates travel operations, as well as many others.
So who else has a travel operation there? I think that's the bigger question.
So
Right. EFCO used to fly out of there.
yeah, so Mark Recycling is flying out of there. We have the Joplin Stockyards, another big one. We also have 3DS Corporate Solutions. So those are kind of our big other tenants.
So then I would say then we would want to remove JHS travel operations. We want to remove the location of. So JHA's travel operations and several other large corporations' facilities in Monett.
Well, nobody else really has facilities there except for JHA. So I just say as well as several other
Proximity.
corporations are contributing factors.
There you go. Okay.
That's fine too.
That works.
See, I'm nitpicky.
I'm glad you included the airport.
It was already in there, but when reading it, it just did not make sense to me.
No.
So I guess we want to start from the beginning.
Yeah. So.
Do you want me just to go down my edits and give my explanation?
Yeah, that's fine. You've made almost every single one, so yeah, that works.
Okay.
The
So-
only one I changed there.
Under the general information heading, in that first sentence, the city of Monett, located in southwest Missouri, I added situated in 2 counties, Berry and Lawrence counties, period, and then added Monett is the largest city in Berry and Lawrence County. and I struck out an estimated 2019 and added a before the word population, struck out 9124 as our population count, and obtained the 2020 census data from the Census Bureau's website with a total of 9576, and added the phrase according to the U.S. Census Bureau's 2020 census data. Good with that?
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm ready.
If
Sure.
you're catching the census
Sure.
over there.
Monett serves as a trade center for the Barry Lawrence County region as a manufacturing hub between Springfield and Joplin with over 5,500 local manufacturing jobs. And I just added a phrase of mostly within the Monett Industrial Park. That unnecessary, just little added explanation of where these industries are located in the city.
It's okay.
There's a list of the major employers, and I'm questioning if we add Walmart stores, if we add Lowe's, and if we add Cox Health to that list. Questions?
I don't have any issues with that. That's pretty accurate description.
And Hydro Aluminum, I had a question. Are they still in operation?
Yes,
They are.
yes.
Okay, just much more scaled down, I guess.
With the shifting of who's doing what,
Okay.
they're still doing the remelt over there.
Yep.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Going to the next paragraph, the first sentence we referenced Jack Henry and Associates, and then later on in the document we referenced JHA. So I just added the acronym of JHA following Jack Henry and Associates' name. We just talked about that sentence, that section of the sentence. So that's going to get revised. Going on in that same paragraph, the last sentence, it starts, the previous 5,000-foot runway was extended and converted. And I added the word be in between to and use, and changed use to used. So now it reads, the previous 5,000-foot runway was extended and converted to be used as a full-length parallel taxiway for the 6,001-foot long, 100-foot wide runway. Any objections?
Here's
No,
some grammatical thing.
It is. It's important, right? This is an RFQ going to a company and to potential candidates.
Absolutely.
Luckily, you didn't have any issue with some of this information that we provided.
Yeah, no, that's great.
I'm also asking to add what I'll call two paragraphs, and I'll just read them. Monett boasts a rich tradition of a great school system. Total enrollment in the 2024 school year was 2,200 students. The school district consists of an early childhood center, elementary school, intermediate school, middle school, high school, and the Scott Regional Technology Center, which provides vocational studies serving students from over 12 area communities. The district completed and opened a new state-of-the-art $21 million middle school in 2024.
I think that's important to include the education component.
Good job.
Another paragraph add, in addition to the Monett Regional Airport, Monett's transportation services include U.S. Highway 60, Missouri 37, and the BNSF Railroad. Throwing just that transportation component into the explanation and description of Monett.
Seems accurate. No issues.
Any close proximity to Interstate 44?
I
I mean, just adding.
we can't,
the
right,
words.
that's to me, it's more directional than stating Monett itself, but I'm happy to.
Because you know where I was going with that. I was going to say proximity again to Springfield Joplin, Interstate 44,
Yeah.
which is a keyway through those two cities.
Yeah, because a lot of this information then gets put out in the job posting. Yeah, the brochure that describes Monett to potential candidates.
When you mention brochure, so this RFQ, you also you envision that as being a brochure at some point.
No, the search firm takes this information and
I understand that, but you said brochure. That's what.
yeah, that's what they call it.
Okay.
They put together a marketing package.
All right, enough said.
Next paragraph, I just added after the mayor and two commissioners, I just added elected at large. That's just to signify that we're not broken into wards or anything like that as a city. Again, we're looking for a city administrator that might find that somewhat useful.
No issues.
I'm not going to talk about under the in the next paragraph. There's an indented paragraph listing all the services. There's a few literal grammatical changes that I made. I think Chris would possibly be okay. I'd add an S to center and event center because we have multiple centers.
Sure.
And I added the word "and" between sanitation and fleet for fleet maintenance services. It's kind of following that Oxford comma thing.
That would be grammatically correct.
He'll fight you. Okay, going down quite a bit under the bullet items, there's one that says assist the city council in finding and hiring an interim city administrator. Throughout the document, the term city commission was used. This was the only occurrence of city council, so I just struck out council and put commission. Okay. Assist. There's the last bullet item: assist the city commission in negotiating a total compensation package with a desired candidate. And I had a question. This is not to the firm, but for us. The question is, do we also want them to assist us in drafting the candidate's contract? I don't recall when Chris was hired if we had our attorneys draft the contract or if the firm drafted the contract. I don't remember, so this is a legitimate question.
If I recall, I had provided a copy of my existing contract with Garnett, and you guys came up with a contract based off of that. And so not every candidate is going to be willing to do that. My thought would be that your best approach is probably to offer your own contract, and then you can negotiate from there. So my suggestion would be to do one or the other. Either have an attorney assist you in drafting that contract, or to have the search firm. My suggestion, honestly, would probably be that you could take my existing contract and utilize a lot of the same terminology, use it as a template if you wanted to, to make an initial offer to your selected candidate, and along with that, run that by attorney and the search firm as well. I think that would probably cover your bases and give you a good contract basis to start negotiating from.
This is your.
I think you should always have it vetted legally.
Yes.
Whether we come up with it or the firm comes up with it, it needs to be legally vetted. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, we have lawyers that. Okay. All right. Good point.
If nothing else, the city does have the services of through our insurance company, Midwest Public Risk. We do have the services of an HR attorney that specializes in human resources that we could reach out to at no cost for any issue that takes less than 3 hours. And I would assume that a contract review, you could get that done in 3 hours.
Good deal. Okay. Let's see, what else do I have? There's a question in the paragraph under the heading of submission of responses, form, and content. The second sentence begins, provide a profile of the firm, including the approximate number of professional staff employed. Do we want to leave the word approximate? This is for the executive search firm when they are collecting information from the firms. This is their number of professional staff. Do we want them to give us their approximate number of their staff or give us the exact number of staff.
The search firms?
The search firms, yeah. This RFQ, we are telling these firms to provide certain information back to us. In that information includes the number of their employees. But
When you say their employees,
Which
at the
means-
firm, at the search firm.
At the search firm.
which
Okay,
means they
I
have
got
that
you.
many more people working to find the position.
We want to make sure we're trying to make sure that a single person hasn't just hung a shingle outside their garage and they're the only person in the company. Right?
I
So
would
we want to
agree
know
with
the
you.
number of employees.
And then when
But
I
our
talk to the
RFQ says to include the approximate number of professional staff. Do we want to strike out approximate?
Will that approximate number be the staff that's going to be working towards finding a replacement?
It's just how many
Just how many
employees
work
they
there.
have.
Yeah, so approximate gives them a little bit of leeway, and I think you're trying to narrow that.
Just tell us how many employees you have.
I agree.
Not
Yeah, no, fair
don't
enough.
guess.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
That concludes my edits.
I mean, do it.
Were you making those changes real time?
Well, I just accepted
I
it.
did. Okay, I did
think
not.
it's-
I did not strike through approximate, and then obviously, all the other stuff. That's good.
So I don't have any issues, as recommended by Ken. I don't have any issues with it.
Okay, so in that case, my thought would be that we go ahead and get this issued. Do we want to adjust the due date as set? It's currently Wednesday, August 7th, which would give them 2 weeks to get back to us. We send this out today. Do we want to try and give a little bit more time than that? Do we want to give 3 weeks? Do we want to shoot for Friday of that week?
I don't think that matters. I think August 7th, the sooner the better in my book.
Well, we might if we do the extra week, it may give us a little better pool if they're going to work on this. I mean, what would be the harm in delaying a week?
Well, through history, I think that if you give somebody 2 weeks to do something, they do it the week it's due instead of the week prior. So by putting a deadline on people, they'll have less time to get it done, which means they'll get to it quickly. Follow me?
I do. I just don't know what's reasonable.
I think
Well, it would be reasonable.
to the mayor's point that it could just be challenging for they see this and like, yeah, we'd love to submit on that, but there's half a dozen others that would like to submit on too, and to truly do their research and make sure, yeah, this is something we want to put our time in, put a good proposal together, etc. It may be something that extra week gets you that proposal.
So that'll give them how many days roughly if you do it the second week? So that'll be August the 14th by adding 1
Yeah,
week to
just
the
have
following
1 week.
Wednesday.
Whatever. Yeah.
So that'll be 14 plus we got 5 days. It's 19 days roughly.
So
Sooner the better for me. 19 days is acceptable.
Okay.
I won't have a problem with the 19th day, so I approve that if that's okay.
So I had planned here to have the 7th be the due date, give you guys some time to review those, to potentially pick a firm and have a work session, pick a firm, and then have somebody under contract within 2 weeks after that, August 22nd. But if you're giving them until the 14th, you're probably going to need a little bit more time to review the proposals. And if you got, I don't know what your intent is going to be, but you may desire to have them come down and meet you in person, have a conversation with you in person, and try and determine, maybe even have 2 or 3 of your top firms that come and give presentations to you on, hey, this is our process, this is what we do, this is how we do it, see what the fit may look like. Or you could just, based on their written proposals, make a decision. That's a lot faster, but you miss that personal element if that's important to you.
Ms. Aaron's going to be involved in this strategically through the whole process as we are.
Absolutely.
That would be my
Um,
expectation.
Do you have any input on that? 3 weeks?
No, I agree with giving the extra week, because, I mean, I know we want to, have an answer quickly, but it also is a big scale project, filling a position like that. And I want to make sure that we absolutely pick the right firm and we're absolutely getting the best candidates. So giving them that timeline, I think would be good. And then however you guys want to proceed, I can, if you guys want to meet with them in person, I can always request that. If they come and meet with you, like we take a day or two and meet with them, like he said, our top 3 firms, if you guys want to do something like that.
Just to make everyone aware, I'll have a scheduling conflict that following week, so August 26th through the 30th. I won't have any availability.
Okay, so let's go for the 19th at the last day. Is that acceptable? The 3 weeks?
For the firms to return the RFQ to
Is
us.
that what we're saying?
No, I think staying with the 21st is fine. But if we're going to be getting together,
Thereafter.
I can meet virtually.
Yeah.
Sure.
So you're saying the 21st you want to have them do? I was thinking we were going to go with the 14th, because we had the 7th.
Forgive me, I was off a week. Yes. Sorry, the 14th. So that's good. So
Okay.
if we are discussing then the week of the 19th, 23rd, that works.
Okay, so then what if we said that you intend to have a selected firm be under contract by August 23rd? Like that's that
Works for me.
next Friday.
Yep.
Hopefully gives you guys enough time to make a decision. And it's the city's intent. It doesn't mean that you have to have that. You
Correct.
have to meet that date. But
Correct.
that would be your goal.
Yep. That'll be good.
Okay.
Any other discussion on the RFQ? I'm happy that
The companies that we are considering.
Yeah.
So the only one I know is RSG.
SGR.
SGR.
The other 2 that I'd recommend that we solicit proposals from would be Raftellus and GovHR. Could also solicit them from, say, Baker Tilly. Baker Tilly does a lot of work in this field as well in the Midwest. But SGR is probably the main one. Certainly we can reach out to, but
That's who we used.
yes, that's
before.
who you used for my search. We could expect to spend $30,000 approximately, but granted it could be more than that at this point. I think last time it was just under 25, but obviously inflation after 3 years. So
Yep.
If there are any other firms you would like me to solicit proposals from, I can certainly reach out to them. But
I think personally, my opinion would be the 3 is sufficient. Any more than that, and we run the risk of not getting all of them back. I know we have a cutoff date, and those who don't get it back to us by the cutoff date are not included. But I think 3 is good.
okay, so I will reach out to those 3. We'll get this posted on our website, and we can hopefully find maybe some others as well that we'll just go ahead and submit. But hopefully you'll have at least 3 proposals to consider, and then start moving forward with the selection process. I did include in here as well, I believe it was in there, to help find an interim administrator. Making sure it's still in there. Did you see it, Ken? Because I was okay.
Yes.
I was thinking I had included it.
Yeah, it's very last paragraph.
all right. So we agree on the RFQ and the 3 companies.
Yes.
I mean, I agree with it. Is there any other issues we need to address with the RFQ?
Just confirm sending it today.
Right.
Okay. Due date 8/14.
Mm-hmm.
And we promise to have a selection by 8/23.
Or soon. Good.
By 8/23, yeah.
Well, that's your goal, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
All right. Good.
Okay. I will get that done. All right. So next would be your the game plan to replace Angie's position. I don't know if you want to have a conversation in closed session. If you want to, if you want to talk about, any of the other things on Ken's list ahead of time, prior to that, so what the game plan is for various things, etc. What course of action you want to take. It's up to you guys.
Yeah, understand. Are there the project lists that you talked about earlier? Do you still want to go through that today?
I do. Yeah, I think we need to. I think we need to understand what is actively being done within the city, what Chris is actively working on, things that he feels that we should be paying attention to, and the like.
Is there a list of projects out there? If there is, I haven't seen it.
He's maintaining one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So. I think the last one I gave you was right before, or right after the election.
A few things have happened since.
Just a couple.
And we've added to that list. Okay.
There's always things going on.
Yep. Trying to think of them all.
All right. So, just want to go into that. I can print this out as well, so that way,
Please.
I'll just make 2 copies. It's 9. This one document's 9 pages.
Ultimately, what I'm looking from us today, and if this does not need to be the full council, I'm perfectly fine sitting one-on-one with Chris and going over the stuff so I have an understanding of where we are. But as soon as Chris is no longer in the building, things are still happening, and we need to know what's going on in case we need to make decisions. I'd rather be more informed than less informed. So, like I said, I'm prepared to be here all day.
Fine.
If no one else can or wants to, that's fine. I'll schedule some one-on-one time with Chris to find out what.
And Miss Angie has prepared hers also, so we can go over
Yeah,
that.
and that's another thing. That's another component for sure. But I will say we have a backup. Right, we have a backup in place.
Correct.
For that, we have a deputy city clerk. We don't have a deputy city administrator.
Right.
So.
I would encourage you at some point to think about that option. But
Absolutely. Yes.
And just signatory type stuff.
Yeah.
He signs all the contracts. I'm on that to get some stuff changed on some of the SRF I'm going because he is.
Yep. There's contact information.
You need to find out, in short term, like the stuff I've got going, you want me to transfer it over to where I can sign stuff or mayor, I don't care. Just that stuff that's going to have to be figured out.
Those things, right. The figuring out part is what I'm looking for, right? Listing those, identifying what those things are. I'd rather not just be faced with a situation when something comes in, now is requiring Chris's attention, Chris's signature, and Chris isn't here, what do we do now?
Yeah.
Delaying a purchase or delaying.
That's where I'm at. I don't want to end up where I'm waiting 2 weeks for somebody to get in and sign something.
Exactly. Yep. This is a big deal.
You got that down, don't you?
I do.
Miss Irwins, you got pages and pages, eh? Thank you.
you're gonna go over her stuff. I'll come back right now.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Grab that.
This is what I do. I've been training Kelly on the daily financials. On that part, I'm doing the first item. She's doing the next 3 on the daily. I am doing everything else. Except on the last page of the Public Works project tracking. I've trained her on how to do that.
Have you seen this list?
I have not.
You have not? You haven't actually?
Is it the same list that's in the notes?
Some of it came from the notes.
Okay.
Well, here, let me give you this.
I thought I had an extra.
I found the one.
What's coming up is getting that Central Avenue roundabout election. That's due on August 27th. Copy to the counties. There's quarterly and 6-month report, tip reports.
And that's both counties, right? I'm sorry, I'm going back. I'm slow.
On the, okay,
The
election,
election,
yes. Mhm.
both counties,
Mhm.
August
27th.
27. Thank you.
Is that documented on here?
I don't think I put that, I just thought of that. The election's on there, but I don't think I have the deadline on there. That's, I think that may not be on there.
So other things, and I'm going to be jumping all around. I'm
Okay.
sorry. I'm really sorry. To Skip's point about signatories and such, we need to, with the banks,
Darren
You are
and
with-
Randy and Kelly and I are the signatories on the bank.
right? But that's UMB,
That
And-
is US Bank.
US Bank.
Mhm.
Okay. Any others?
There's also investments with US Bank that I believe are Chris, Kelly, and I.
Okay.
There's Edward Jones, which I believe is Chris and I.
So I don't know why that came up. Chris, Angie. And this was Edward Jones. Chris.
Just you and Chris Edward Jones?
I believe so.
Chris and Angie.
Pretty comprehensive list here.
Okay.
It's a great landscape.
Yeah, one thing, Angie, it just caught my eye. Annual reports on the TIF
Mhm.
must be done or lose funding for 5 years. Okay,
That's
due in
what I was
November.
told. Mhm.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right. So this is for administrator. What is, this is a small thing, inter-country club payments to Berry County for NID, what is that?
The Neighborhood Improvement District, when they did the curb and the sewer out there at Country Club, that was all set up back, this is the last year for it, for 20 years, and though the payments go to the county. And they collect it.
Okay.
And then they send us a report each year after people pay their taxes. It usually starts coming December, January, February, and we enter those in a spreadsheet.
Okay.
And we're keeping track of who has paid and who hasn't paid, and when the property is
Has
sold,
it changed?
that goes with the property.
Okay. I'll keep it just in case. I know I have it. Sorry, you were talking about the NID, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, so those are payments the homeowners make to the county at their time of
When they pay their
property
taxes.
taxes. And then, I'm sorry, there was a
Then
spreadsheet that you
the
entered
county
into?
sends me who's made the payments,
Okay.
and I enter that in a spreadsheet, and we keep track of who's paid, and then when somebody sells the property, that stays with the property.
Right.
So you've got to keep track of who the new property owner is.
Exactly.
Kelly know this?
No. The only
Don't
thing
know this
Kelly
part. Okay.
is the first 3 items and the project tracking
There's quite
on.
a few that I have done on this list.
Okay.
We've gone through the monthly a time or two, but
The quarterly we've done, I've also done some stuff in the other, some of the stuff in the monthly, and also you started training me on the leases, I took that over here just
yeah, the
recently.
tax lien, I did show her. I forgot about that. I showed her that last week.
Which one is this now? Sorry.
The tax liens is probably down there under other.
So some of the stuff.
I've
under
shown her
calculator.
the sales tax payments. I don't know that she's made any
That
of
was-
those yet, but I have shown her those.
That was a question I was gonna have, is we have that process, we know about the,
I have notes on a lot of
everything.
stuff.
Okay,
The finances.
process card, kind of, how to,
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, on the financials, besides this, I mean, there's a 59-page Excel spreadsheet on, if you print it out, it's 59 pages of steps.
Because I'll be honest, that is what's scaring me the most. Is, yeah, this is extremely extensive, but it's the what, right, and not the how or the why, and we're losing that. Yeah, it's very scary to me.
The other,
I mean, no disrespect to anybody. I'm just,
um,
it's that,
the auditors have not been here yet. I have submitted everything to them.
and that's quarterly,
No, they come annually.
annually.
Has to be done by September 30th, I believe, and they have not given me a date. They originally said the end of July. Last year, I think it was the end of August, and that's kind of what I'm anticipating now. But everything has been completed and uploaded to
So
them.
everything's collected
Mm-hmm.
and provided to the auditors. Now, they are actually just conducting the audit,
They do.
and they will
They do
follow
that
up.
every year. Yes,
Okay.
they'll come on site and
How long was their presence here on site?
usually 3 to 4 days.
3 to 4 days. So in September or prior?
No, I anticipate the end of August.
And then that's due or completed by the end of September.
Mhm.
I'm just overwhelmed right now.
I know you're talking about another TIF. That's something I haven't shown Kelly because we haven't had an active TIF that's been paid off. So those steps haven't been done for a year.
Anything else? Is there any reason you can't show Kelly any or all of this stuff before you leave
Just time,
this time?
and there are notes on the majority of this.
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about.
So I'm gonna look at the quarterly things, because those are the things that are gonna be, you don't do and see very often, so training on it is probably
I have one to do right
non-existent.
now that I'll show her as soon as she's available.
And I'm assuming that's the October, or I'm sorry, the July.
Yeah, you're doing it
Task.
for April, May, and June.
Got it. Okay, so the prepare and submit quarterly reports to newspaper and library. What goes to the library?
We had, before we had a city administrator, we had a finance director,
Uh-huh.
and then I took over the finances when she left, but I was just told to do it. That you
So
send
we
them, you
don't have an
send this,
understanding of why.
I don't know why,
Okay.
but it was my understanding you were required to do it.
I wonder
And
if
it's just there, I think, if somebody comes and asks for it. I don't know,
Okay.
but
who does that go to? A person?
I was at the Monett Times. I always send it to the Monett Times, and I send it to Lisa Kraft,
Right.
or whoever the editor was, and
That's okay.
I do not recall the name at
I can chat with you
the
later.
library.
Okay.
If I may add, you don't have to send that to the newspaper anymore. Frankly, I got this many of those things, and no one ever looked at them and just passed them to me. And it was too much detail for the paper to ever digest it. So you made it public record, you did your job.
Yeah.
But we could never cope with it.
That's
That's
good to know.
The library is the same way.
Well, I'm just wondering if they have any type of reporting, because they're a taxing entity as well. So I don't know. We'll talk.
Yes.
Finance census, what is that?
What is the fun? That is a headache.
Are we counting dollars?
It's yearly.
It's and we made note. Kelly and I
Yeah.
made a spreadsheet with notes on where the numbers have come from.
Yeah, yeah. What are those? Who do they go to? I mean, I'm trying to get at what's the purpose?
The IRS.
It's the
What are we on?
IRS.
I'm sorry.
And
I'm sorry, it's December.
Yes.
It's on the last page. I
yeah,
think.
it's the IRS and the Census Bureau both collect just a ton of financial data, and it's a lot of work. You got to go back through previous year's audits and budgets and try and calculate, and pull out specific numbers. They want to know, what percentage of your revenue was derived from utilities, what percentage of your revenue was derived from taxes, and so it's a lot of formulaic calculations. And well, what percentage of your revenue in the general fund was from these types of sources such as permits? And so you got to go through and add up all these. You figure out which line items have permits, and then you just total those things. And so it's
Is
So-
this something we've got to do by hand, or the formulas in a spreadsheet?
so I believe they've built somewhat of a
Yeah, we have a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
spreadsheet.
that we
Okay.
can
Good.
go through
All right.
with notes.
But
Good, yeah. Casell doesn't have anything.
And I think the city administrator had done it. Well, I shouldn't say that. I had never heard of it before, so I assumed Dennis had done it.
No.
And
Yeah, we
but
had found one that Dennis had done.
yeah,
actually.
In the banking industry, what I'm going to equate this to what's called a call report. Every financial institution has to submit what's called a call report, CALL.
Okay.
And every bank in the country has to submit this information to the federal government. And it breaks down every type of account, every type of customer, location, you name it. It's huge, but the Jack Henry products generate it. So I'm wondering, Cassell does not have. If this is
Well, they
a
don't have
federal requirement,
well, they are going to have our audit, the information from the audit. But we kind of set it up what page we got it from the audit or what section to help. I am a spreadsheet person, so I
Good.
So on this
Lots of
call
notes.
report,
Yep.
is that goes to, I guess, the federal government? Is that for statistical purposes?
yeah, I
Okay,
mean
so-
that's how. I mean, just as an example, that's how they'll catch if there's a bank conducting redlining. Familiar with redlining?
I am
It's
not.
when banks will draw a geographic region in a community, and if that geographic region is more impoverished or has a certain racial component, that more loans are being provided outside of that geographic region. That's against the
Violates the law.
violation of fair lending practices. So
Okay.
that information, it's like I said, it's a copious amount of information, but I would assume that's the use of this data also by the federal governments to provide statistical information, demographic type information to whomever in the world wants to consume it.
Well, Chris has definitely helped us figure out where to pull the information from to put that spreadsheet together.
Okay. This is massive and doesn't. I don't know where to start. So, what concerns do you have?
It's a lot,
Yeah. It is.
and you have to stay on top of it. I mean, I like stuff done daily and to stay on top of it. A lot of this stuff, I run some of these reports every month just to make sure nothing got changed in the financials to where you're not at the end of the year with the audit and having to go back and start digging. Okay, what happened?
Yeah.
So I do a lot of double checking. Right now, the recycle, Sheila was working on that, and we switched companies that pick up our recycles. We have, in looking through the folder, we don't necessarily have reports from them on what they picked up.
What's
so
that under? I'm
the
sorry.
recycle, the last page. So
Last page. Recycle.
I'm trying to get that figured out. I did email Dave Dunn yesterday the bid awards and the RFQ that normally is sent out on that. So he is aware, so that didn't get somebody just doesn't forget about that. The other big thing is the cemetery. I created that massive spreadsheet. There's books and books on it. When I started, I went out and walked the cemeteries. I put all the burials, the layout.
You're talking about a map?
Huh?
You're talking about mapping all the
Yeah.
plots?
She did.
Wow.
Magnificent. Magnificent work.
Wow.
And so I put all that on the computer. I created the burial sheet to where we pulled the obituaries, we put everything in there. At one time, it was on the website to where people could just look all this information up themselves.
Wow.
That is, I guess that's my baby, so that is a big, that's a big concern to me. And you've got to make sure it's legal documents because the deeds are legal because you're selling a piece of property. So making sure that is all entered correctly and updated on time so they're not reselling a piece that's already been.
So now I'm going to ask a little bit of a technical question. All of these spreadsheets that you have, are they located on your local machine, on your physical?
They're on the server.
They are on the network server.
Yes, I do everything on the server.
Good. Phew. Okay. Second question. Cassell has a cemetery.
We started with that.
Uh-huh.
And when we started, we went with that.
Uh-huh.
And at the time, what we ran into was they could only do one body per grave. So we did away with that module.
Okay.
I did ask about it when we were out there last week because now you can do 4 cremations on top of a casket.
Okay.
And so you could have 5 people in one plot.
Uh-huh. But
what they told me last week was they don't have it to where you can number like the way Keith does it is you've got your cemetery, you've got your addition, you've got your block, and then you've got a lot, and then you have a grave space. So you have this you're down to this grave space, and they're 1 through 8, where you can have cremations are A, B, C, D.
Okay.
All Cassell says they offer is we can do it by how deep somebody is. So I'm not sure. Kelly's looked into some software last week, IMGIS, and that is she said that might be a possibility for the cemetery. But
Do we have more than one cemetery that the city owns?
we have 3.
We have 3. Oakdale, North Park, and what's the other?
Cox.
Out there on 37.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And the columbarium, is that a separate entity or
That is considered part of the IOOF.
Cox, Oakdale, and
IOOF.
Any other issues on Angie's list?
yeah.
Angie's List? That's a
Ah.
software product. It's an app. Sorry.
Well, yeah.
Some of my spreadsheets are called Angie's Notes.
I geeked out on you there for a second.
Well, thank you for your work in the cemetery. I didn't realize all that stuff there going around.
Thank you.
That's not fun.
That was never available in any form till she did that.
Yeah, that's very worthwhile.
Surprising.
And she's identified all the veterans.
That's
It's
very good.
fantastic.
Surprising that the cemetery itself doesn't do any of that.
Well, they did, but it was a big book.
Yeah.
It's not nearly the same.
There
And
was
it
a
different
book
for the
and-
3 cemeteries.
And cards and
Paper.
And this is pretty useful data for stuff like Memorial Day and Veterans Day.
they think it's the VFW comes and gets the books every year. I made books to where you could just stand down by 37 and they're by rows, so each person could just take a book and walk down and put the flags. So they come and pick up those books.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Okay, other items on the list.
I'll come and visit.
Okay. All right. Now here's a list of project. I'm assuming this is your projects, right? The
Right,
one, the
so-
copy you just handed us.
Yeah, so it's not all inclusive at this point. I'm working on yet more, but it's the same list that I presented to you guys I said right after the election. But so there's a lot of stuff on here that's hopefully you've had a chance to review at some point. But there's some updates on some of it certainly. So Lowe's Lane extension, that's an ongoing one. We still got the partnership in place with the MIDC to facilitate this work. This year's budget does have $650,000 in it for this project. The game plan is that the city will cover the cost to upgrade the street, essentially, from what would be a city code acceptable street to an industrial strength street. Because the being for Steel Tech and the development of an industrial company there, they're going to need more than just a street that meets city code. They're going to need a better base. They're going to need thicker concrete, etc. So with the types of trucks they're bringing in and out, etc., it's got to be.
It's a new road and something we're going to have to contract out.
Yes.
We don't have the capability to do it within the city.
No, for the extent of what we're building here, no, we do not. So we're going to need to contract it out. We do have half of it paid for from a grant from the state of Missouri. We got a 50% grant, a governor's cost share grant for this project. We still had to come up with 50% of the cost. Technically, this was originally planned to be a MIDC project that the city was not going to be involved in, but when COVID hit, costs went up, and then it was, well, this project isn't going to be able to happen unless the city gets involved. We obviously want to see the expansion of Steel Tech, and so we decided, hey, we'll step in and try and help out. So the thought process here is that differential there, for it to be an industrial street, is what we'll cover, but yet we'll cover it through the TIF resources that we're going to get in place.
Okay.
So TIF 3 is underway as far as that process being started. I have a phone call meeting on Friday to start off and kick off the blight study, which is the next step in the process. I've asked Kevin Sprinkle to sit in on that with me. He said that he would, assuming he has time, and hopefully he will. So we've got a call Friday morning at 10 o'clock to kind of have the kickoff meeting for the blight study. Once that is completed, then the city will need to hold a TIF commission hearing meeting to consider the establishment of this TIF district. This is our third TIF district. We've closed out the other two, and so with this TIF district, we'll be able to incorporate everything south of Highway 60 there along Lowe's Lane, as well as north of Highway 60 surrounding the hospital area there, as well as just to the west of the hospital and east of the racetrack and the strip mall there. So all of that land will be included. It's just a TIF is only for bare ground. And so anything that is currently built, like the hospital or like Steel Tech's current facility, et cetera, Lowe's, all of that is outside of the TIF district. So it's just new development that you're going to be able to capture any type of resources from. Essentially, the way it works is that depending upon how you establish it, which the city will need to come up with what our approach is going to be here, and that's something for the TIF Commission to really consider. And the TIF Commission is appointed by this body, by this governing body, but the TIF Commission membership or roster is currently full. But when those appointments come up, that's something for you guys to consider on who we need to have sit on that.
Start to get a little off track. Do the people who are that on that commission, do they have to live within the city limits of Monett?
Not all of them. I believe we have to have. I can't remember the exact regulations or restrictions, but I believe some, like the county commission, I think needs to be represented as well. That the county's got to have some representation. So there's some different particulars there that need to be.
I'll talk with you.
But we can get
I'll talk
further
with
on
you.
that. But the on TIF 3, that'll give us the resources. If you set it up as we've done in the past, essentially revenue off of sales tax, revenue off of property tax that's generated, and it can be set up a little bit differently, where you can collect, half of that. You can collect, higher or lower percentage of that, but it depends on how you want to set that up. You do collect that instead of the entities who would normally get that. So if the school district, let's say, would normally get, hey, this development comes in and we get tax dollars off of it. Now the city's going to collect that instead, or a portion of that instead, until that debt is paid off, so the infrastructure debt's paid off. So it's something that a lot of other entities have an interest in, certainly.
Mhm.
The 911 district for Berry County, that's certainly interested. The fire district, the ambulance
Library.
district, etc. So there will be certainly some anxiety and desire to be a part of the conversation from these other agencies, but just something to keep in mind that, and in general, it's taxes that they're not getting today. And so the issue really becomes, look, if this drags on, then it takes forever to get this thing paid back. And let's say Steel Tech, for instance, is something where there's a lot of jobs there. We have subdivision come into town, whatnot, and let's say a subdivision, or we have something develop out there in the TIF district where the city's collecting those taxes. It puts extra burden on the school district because, well, now we've got extra kids, and normally we get property taxes to help fund those kids. We don't get those taxes, or at least all of those taxes, like we should be in the school district's mind. So they've got now to pay teachers and staff for an increase in enrollment, and yet they didn't get all the revenue to support that. So it certainly is something to keep in mind. But at the end of the day, the development will be good. If we can get something to develop with a retail base, that's really going to be the key. That's kind of the hope there on the north side of Highway 60. There's good land there. That if we can get something that's retail to come in there, whether it's a hotel, whether it's a restaurant, convenience store, whatever it may be, to generate sales tax dollars, that's really where the city is going to be able to generate enough revenue to pay this back in a fairly short time frame. That's what's happened with both TIF 1 and TIF 2. The city had good success because of the retail side. And so if we can generate those sales tax dollars, that's going to make a big difference. Property taxes in general are fairly low in the area, as the city doesn't collect anything, obviously, on that front. And so, in general, taxes are low on that front. So sales tax is really what we need to help drive the repayment of this infrastructure. So hopefully that does happen. But the other big piece with this project is there is stormwater that's associated with it. The grant does not pay for any of the stormwater. The grant only covers 50% of the construction cost of the road itself. So the stormwater portion is all on the city and MIDC a little bit to help with that. So MIDC we're still working with them. The plan is for them to cover some of their cost, but the city will cover the differential there on upgrading that to an industrial strength street. So that kind of goes into number 2 there, TIF 3, just kind of outlined that. So Gilmore Bell's helping that out with that. And a separate company is doing the blight study. We did that because of the history of our TIFs has not been great when it comes to the counties. We've had some challenging situations there in the past, and so Gilmore Bell recommended that we use a third party to complete the blight study, and so that's what we're doing. Gilmore-Bell did do the blight study on the first and second TIFs, and so we're going to do a little bit different direction this time. But that is required via state statute in order to establish a TIF district. You have to be able to show that this is a blighted area. On the airport, we'll have a conversation later on later on today, depending on how late this meeting goes. My game plan is that we have a call in with our attorneys on the lawsuit for Sierra Bravo. So we'll have a go into closed session. I think I have it on the agenda for attorney-client privilege. So we'll have a conversation there. We'll have depositions getting set up for it looks like the beginning of September. So my game plan will be that I'll come back for that. If you guys, obviously, I would hope that you would allow me to do that. I know they'll also need Mr. Pyle and Mr. Frazier, are the three previous employees of the city at that point. That'll need to come back and provide that testimony. So
Sierra Bravo.
Yes, on the Sierra Bravo situation and the situation with Mr. Robleski. As I state, it's an ongoing situation, but certainly we're hopeful that there may be resolution here sooner rather than later.
Yeah, so we're going to do that in closed session. And, you know, Chris, as I read this, this was something that was prepared in April. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. I am familiar with not all, but most of the issues on here.
Okay.
What I recommend, and Ken, I think you talked about this before, maybe talking individually in the interest of time today.
Okay. Sure.
And I think the other thing is points of contact. I think that's going to be pretty important.
Okay.
Yeah. So you get the topic, you know, at the TIF, you get some great information there, but now points of contact.
Yeah, so like on that one, I would say Kevin Sprinkle is the one that, like I said, he's going to be sitting in on that conversation with me on Friday. The next one down here on the substation project, well, that'd be Mr. Schaller. I think Skip is still working on trying to get that substation built. We'll need to tear down the existing, what was previously the cemetery facility to provide the room for his substation. But that is a needed project, and so that's in the budget to tear down the current building as well as to start the engineering on the project. I would encourage you to continue on with that project. It certainly is something that will improve the electric utilities capability and capacity in the future.
If we don't carry on with it, we're gonna have a big old transformer sitting out there doing nothing, so we already ordered it, so.
Do you have notes, emails, points of contact, and all that stuff for a lot of this?
I mean, really, department heads have been involved to some degree in most of this. I mean, like the next two, Chapel Drive, Central Avenue, I've been getting Angie involved, but obviously she's leaving as well. But Dave Dunn has been involved in most of those, as well as has Kevin Sprinkle. So either Dave or Kevin would be good points of contacts on both Central and in the Chapel Drive project.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. Are there anything? I think I would like to focus on the things that only you do.
So
where isn't a department head?
Okay, well, so for instance, housing. Been meeting with some housing developers. Base Construction was one who recently had a conversation with, trying to get them to build some subdivisions here in the community. They certainly were interested. Mr. Ritter, Cody Ritter, is the owner there, and he's doing some other work here in town. I think there is definitely an opportunity there. We were partnering with DHTC and trying to do some collaborative work there with him and another development firm. And so I met with him as well as Mr. Heeman. Obviously, Mr. Heeman is leaving his position with the chamber as well. So we did have Jack Williams involved with Wintech, and so Jack went around with us and we looked at different properties. They were interested in some of the property the city has south of town, as well as some other property in town. So I can certainly give you some more information on what opportunities there may be there, but I think that'd be a little bit better discussed privately.
Okay.
The and I can certainly come up with a list of various things that is just, I'm the only one who's been really involved in, but there's a lot of things that, I guess I'd say I have a hand in, but that department heads, I try and involve department heads in anything that may be kind of in their realm, and so that way it's not a single point of contact necessarily that something happens to me and the project just dies. I try and avoid those types of situations. So I'd say that there's not a whole lot of those, but I can certainly try and come up with that.
Yeah, if the commissioners don't mind, I think we ought to talk individually based on, I mean, Ken, you've been here a while, you're probably well versed in all of these. Me less so. But,
I mean, that's not my preference. It's fine. It's not my preference so that we all hear the same story at the same time and be able to interact and ask questions and get those questions answered. But I'm good doing it individually. It's fine.
I mean, some of the other things that I would say for you to just be mindful of, with the hotel feasibility study, Brett and I were really the ones who were pushing that forward, but with both of us leaving, that's something that I did have a conversation with Brad Hill, the new president of the chamber, yesterday or the day before. I had lunch with him, I think the day before, and went over that, kind of what the game plan is there. So trying to reach out to some developers, reach out to some people with an interest in building a hotel here in the community to keep that ball rolling. Go ahead.
Were you getting ready to move on from that?
Sure. Go ahead.
No. I don't want to move on from that. I want to stay with that. Okay. So, so Brad Hill has it now. He physically has that report.
We talked about it. I'm going to email it to him.
Okay.
So I need to send him that email.
So he has not been connected to that investor group.
He has not yet. We had a conversation about who the group is, and Jack Henry's got some involvement there.
Do I need to broker that introduction?
That'd probably be a good thing. So if you wanted to do that, that'd be awesome.
Absolutely right.
I would say on housing incentives, be mindful of, obviously I have interviews set up for tomorrow with candidates the external candidates for the building inspector position. I need to meet with an internal candidate as well and get that scheduled. But this is something that whether we hire externally, which my intent would be to involve you guys in this process, give you my recommendation, but allow you guys to meet my recommended candidates. But that housing incentives is something that we currently have that expire at the end of this year. So be something that if you want to continue to offer those housing incentives or to modify them in some way, be something to be thinking about moving forward here. Because currently it's, we offer incentives for the construction of new housing, including single-family duplexes and multi-family complexes. 50% of the building permit fee is waived, along with all of the water, sewer, and tapping fees being waived. Any new single family or duplex constructed will be issued a one-time $500 utility credit for their city utility bill, and temporary power service connections shall also receive a $500 credit for electricity used during construction.
Is this on this?
It is.
Mm-hmm.
So
Page 3. You're all.
I'm just making everything on the back. That's when the mayor asked him to start single listing stuff that he works on, so I went to the back.
There you go.
But like I said, that will all expire at the end of this calendar year. So if you want to continue to offer those types of incentives, or to modify the program in some way, it'll be something you need to.
Is it in the budget?
So we don't, given that the credits we give really are just a reduction in revenue rather than an expense. It's something that would be technically in the budget. We obviously hired Jaden. The transportation strategic plan, that's something that there's a lot there. And Mr. Dunn I've had numerous conversations with him, and I sent Ken a pretty lengthy email that probably he was just, I don't want to read all this.
Oh, no. Au contraire.
but he sends me an email asking one question, and I probably spent an hour and a half typing out a response that was way over the top. But
There were no follow-ups, right?
that's
So it
true.
was not over the top.
But that is something that I think would be good for you to spend some significant time on. We could probably spend 2 hours on that topic alone. You don't have to have me in on that conversation. Dave knows kind of what the game plan is, and at least what my game plan was. But there's a lot to it, and it's something that would require some budgetary changes if we were to go the direction that I think that the city should go.
Would that be with this year's budget or next year's budget?
I would say next year, but it's realistically the point is that the transportation plan is a good one, but it doesn't address the utilities underground, and it's in my opinion not a good idea to spend $700,000 a year putting in brand new asphalt on these streets without addressing the utilities underneath it.
Well, and you got Spire doing a major upgrade throughout town right now.
Right.
They're
Yeah,
tearing up a lot of stuff.
And then we gotta do the lead pipe, right?
Okay. So, and Kevin and Dave and Skip have been coordinating with Spire to try and make sure, all right, where are they going to be? When are they going to be there? What years are they doing this work? So that way we can make sure that, okay, we don't do something before Spire gets in there and gets their stuff done. But we get their plan, and then if we can get, all right, they get their stuff done, we come in, we get our stuff done, and then be able to come in and do the streets afterwards, that's the ideal situation. So, but with that in mind, we either contract that work out at a high cost, or we staff up and buy equipment and be able to give Skip a larger crew to be able to do it in house, because there's a lot of work that needs done. But still, that's expensive as well, because for one, he needs a larger crew to be able to do it, because we don't have a large enough crew with enough manpower to be able to do these types of large scale projects in house right now. We can do some of these types of things on a smaller scale, but our guys, we have such little manpower that they get pulled off of things all the time to go do this, that, and the other. And so we would need a dedicated crew to be able to come in and just replace water lines and sewer lines in an entire area, so that way the following year we can come in and we can pave those streets. Because you're talking about an entire subdivision that they're having to replace all this stuff. So that's a big project. My recommendation would be that I'd love to see the city do that in house, but you're going to have to beef up staff, and it's probably a 20-year project. You're going to have a larger crew for at least the next 20 years to be able to come through, replace all these water lines, sewer lines, and all these areas of town, to then be able to follow it up that year after and do all the street work. But you're talking, that's a bunch of money that the water department, the sewer department, etc., are not spending right now, because we're not doing that kind of large scale line replacement work. So
Has it been engineered as to where it's going and when?
So the plan has been built to where they're recommending to do this group of streets this year. I showed you the map.
Yeah.
This is
what
the
kind of
one with
plan
the
is.
different zones.
Yes.
It's 26, I believe.
Yes. There's like a plum group and a pine group, etc. And so you have all these different groups around the city of where we're going to do this work. But what it didn't take into consideration was the underground stuff. And so we need to be thinking about it. In addition to all that utilities, we also should be thinking about stormwater. Like we were talking about with First Streets and needing to do a lot of work there, that we can address all this other stuff, but if we're not addressing stormwater as well, at some point that's going to come back and bite us. And so there's a lot to it. It's a good transportation plan. Pardon me. It's a good transportation plan.
It's literally the surface.
Exactly. So
I'm sorry.
It's literally the surface.
Oh, I got you.
Oftentimes you say, "Oh, we're just scratching the surface to address a problem." This is literally the surface. Problem is below.
So the current game plan is basically a 10-year plan where we don't start the plan, implementing the plan, until the summer of 27, or fiscal year 27-28. So we would want to do the utility work in the summer of 26. So 2 years out. So we need to beef up our crew. We make sure we get the equipment to be able to do it, or we
reserves.
plan to have it contracted out. So one or the other, in my mind, would be what you want to focus on. And then you're spending $700,000 a year approximately for the next 7 years. The key here is that you want to be able to get enough accomplished in the first 5 to 6 years of doing that work that then when you go to the public again in 31, 32 to renew the sales tax, which expires in 33, that you're going to be able to have something to show for it. You're going to have, hopefully, Central Avenue completed. You're going to have Chapel Drive completed. And then you're going to have 4 to 5 years worth of work of residential streets throughout town completed, with all this utility work underground done as well. You will have a significant amount to show for the transportation sales tax the public's been paying for the past decade, and then be able to have them trust you and trust the city's government that, hey, look, they're spending the money appropriately, and we want to go ahead and renew this sales tax. That way my group of streets can get done. Because we publicize, yeah, these are the streets that we've got done. These are the groups of streets, etc. And I know we haven't got to you yet, I'm sorry, but your group is in 2035. Your group is in 2036, etc. So that way people understand, okay, yeah, it's frustrating that I got potholes on my street, but I know it's coming. If I renew the tax, I know it's coming. So, the something else to just keep in mind, and I know Kelly's been working on this, the Kelly Creek Storm Water Basin project. We do have, so she's got the contact here, but it's something that there's going to be a lot of heavy lifting in the future that the council should be aware of. If we pursue the building the giant regional basin on the east side of town, and one on the north side of town, and one on the south side of town, to try and resolve the flooding downtown and help the revitalization of downtown Monett. The expectation is we got a grant that pays for 100% of planning. And then after they get the planning done, which we just got word that they finally were able to get a planning contract signed. So that's great. They get that done. Then the federal government will pay for 100% of design of the project. The city has to come in and buy the land. And the plan will say this is where the basin needs to be, in these 3 spots, so to speak. I've already talked to the city of Pierce City, and they're interested in partnering with us as well, because what happens on Kelly Creek flows down to them and floods their community as well. So we certainly have some opportunity for collaboration and partnership there, but the game plan is going to be the city has to buy the land. That's not going to be cheap, but it's something that has the long-term potential to make a huge difference for downtown Monett. So just something to keep in mind that we're going to be responsible for raising that money.
We're still talking about the same basin that
They planned for 20 years ago. Yes.
Okay.
And the cost then was $1 million for the land, and the city didn't bite at that point in time. And since then, the cost certainly has gone up. We may have to use eminent domain, which I certainly hope the city does not have to use. But on top of that, you're looking at, I asked to have the watershed area, the planning area expanded, because what I didn't want to see happen was we build this giant basin east of town, we spend all this money and get this big grant to solve the downtown flooding once and for all. And then we get, like what happened immediately prior to my arrival, I think in May of 21, there apparently was a storm that went through basically just north of Monett and didn't really hit Monett at all, and flooded the football field. All that water coming down from the north.
Oh, it got on the field itself.
And flooded downtown, and yet there wasn't really anything in town, and even east of town didn't really get hit very hard. It was all north. And so what I don't want to have happen is that type of scenario happen after we build a huge basin east of town. It costs $25 million. So it was, let's make a comprehensive plan here that's going to take all watersheds into account that are going to flow downtown, and make sure that we fix the problem rather than just addressing one area. So if the cost was $1 million 20 years ago for land east of town, well, that cost has gone up, I'm sure. And then we're looking at land north of town and looking at land possibly south of town as well. We're going to have to come up with some money. So just something to be mindful of, that it's going to be a big deal. It can help out the community tremendously, but the city's going to have to come up with some cash. And then the feds are going to pay for 100% of construction as well. So it's a great deal that they pay for 100% of planning, 100% of design, and 100% of construction, but we have to buy the land. So just something to keep in mind. Now Kevin's been involved, and Kelly's been involved, so that shouldn't die. But it's just, you guys are going to have to, at some point, probably in the next 2 years, pursue land acquisition to be able to move that project forward.
You mentioned eminent domain. That's an option even outside city limits.
Yes, because it's for the public purpose.
Okay.
The NRCS, which is the federal agency that we're working through for this project, will not work with any agency that does not have the power of eminent domain.
Okay. The roundabout petition, I'm gonna call it that, specifically had language regarding eminent domain. Was that specifically for that geographic area of the proposed roundabout?
If I recall,
or
it was for that specific geographic
not
area.
eminent domain, removing eminent domain power from the city, period.
Yeah, I
That's a
believe
good question.
it was for just that specific area.
Because the first time I read the petition, I said, is this supposed to apply to everywhere? That's a good question.
Wouldn't be anything to keep somebody doing a citizen's petition for it than this.
Well, that's certainly optimistic, Skip.
The landowners get upset about it.
So the language in that ordinance itself stipulates property acquisition adjacent to that intersection by the city of Monett, whether by use of city funds or by eminent domain, for the sole purpose of constructing a roundabout is prohibited. So in that particular instance, utilizing eminent domain is restricted to that intersection for the sole purpose of constructing a roundabout. So it would not apply.
No other reference of eminent domain in there.
Correct. I am not seeing anywhere else in here where it stipulates
Okay, good.
the usage of eminent domain. And even if it did, I do believe that would be broad enough that would be challengeable. I don't believe that would be constitutional to restrict the city's rights.
Sure.
To utilize eminent domain.
Okay.
Again, hopefully we would not have to go in, take it to that extent. We could come up with a mutually agreeable price with the landowner, or an easement potentially to just be able to use their land. But, so just something to keep in mind. I think anything else, on this list, I can probably meet with you guys individually, like the mayor was saying. I think the MIDC, if you have questions on that, let me know. I gave a pretty in-depth explanation there, but I know Ken obviously has been involved with one at Main Street, so I don't have to go too much into that because he'll still have that. The things regarding the airport, hangar construction, Jaden's taken that lead, so that's great to see. We've already addressed the sanitation rates increase, and on the Clark Center, that is one that trying to, I guess, hand that off to you guys. So Brad Ridenauer said he's available next Tuesday. If any of you have any availability next Tuesday to meet with him, so I can kind of appoint you guys as the contact people for that.
Is that for that nursing home?
Well, so
For the old hospital, right?
yeah, Clark Center is trying to come up with some plans for how they might be able to make the best use of their space down there at the hospital, and so certainly a conversation that he'd like to have with all of you.
And that's Tuesday?
Yes, if you have availability.
A time you know of?
I think morning would work well for him. He's, I think, like 10 o'clock. I don't know if you want to do it together, or if so, then obviously we'd have to notify Murray so he could be there. But if you want to do it separately, I think that would work as well for Brad. And so try to schedule it separately for all of you. I don't know if you have any time on that particular day.
That's my working hours down here. I'm sure it's not a problem.
Okay.
Murray would have to tag along. No offense.
Well, if it's
If all
all
three of us, and I don't see any need to have all three of us at the same time.
Okay. 'Cause I'm available to do it too.
Tuesday's fine for me.
Okay.
If Brad wants to just send out.
Okay. Is it okay if I get your guys' email addresses and he can just contact you to set something up?
You betcha.
Not a problem.
Okay. All right. So I guess that's really the big things for me. I'll continue a list of things that just I've been working on. But if there's any questions, anything in particular, I'd be happy to address those.
I think meeting individually with you would be a better option, so I can ask the questions I want to ask and put myself in the positions I think I can move forward with. You know, things that favor my thought process and stuff. Meeting as a council, we could do that. You know, pretty much per request if we wanted to do it that way also. So.
Okay. All right. Okay. How would you like to proceed at this point?
Let's see. What time is it? Can we do a 10-minute recess?
Okay. Then come back into closed, or what are you thinking?
Is there any more on the open agenda?
Okay.
Are you gonna allow any comments?
Not in this particular, but go ahead, Debbie. Well,
I have three things. There's one short, the other one is just a request. Who is the city attorney now?
Sarah Weber.
Sarah Weber.
And Murray, I'm not speaking for Tammy Reedy, but I do work the elections up here at Lawrence County. And I was wondering if you could put a sign at City Hall, because I know that some people, when they move, they don't know where they go. And we have 2 places, maybe 3.
So a sign at City Hall saying, go, if you're in Forest Park, go forward. If you're in Lawrence County, go there.
Right, because
Okay.
some people have come in to City Hall and they tell us later. And it's kind of frustrating that
Okay.
City Hall
Okay.
has told them to go to the park and it's not that, and they have to go to the
Okay.
other.
So it's a matter of advertising where elections
Wherever,
are.
if you live in Lawrence County, you go to Forest Park. If you live in Berry County,
Yeah.
it's down.
We can put that on our Facebook page
Okay,
as well.
we're
That
having-
seems to be a good place.
Yeah.
But all right, good.
We're gonna have 2 big elections.
Okay.
So.
What else you got?
I'm just really concerned about the city having lost 3 employees that have a huge effect on city business just in a short time. Is there any reason for that? I mean, they're like boom, boom, boom. You're losing 3 major.
Yeah, we know
And I
that.
hate
That's why we're working the way we are, Debbie. That's why we're working.
Well, I just wondered if there's a reason that's more dominant, or if people have their own separate reasons. I don't care to know, but
Okay.
it's just strange.
Okay. All right. Anything else before we recess? Can we recess for? I move we recess for 10 minutes.
I'll second.
Call the roll.
Mayor Randy Burke,
Yes.
Commissioner Darren Indovina,
Yes.
Commissioner King Gaspar.
All right.
All right.